I got to get that out of here. Okay, now back to the notes. All right, so having this on kind of screwed that up. So now I have two different videos I got to splice together there. So, all kidding aside, I know some people hated that video. I could see your faces. I saw him starting to move, though. He enjoyed it. He'll listen to it later tonight. Um, you got to have this memorized. Okay. All right. So let's stop messing around and actually do the quadratic formula. I will say this, the quadratic formula works in all cases. So if something is factorable, then the quadratic formula could still get you the correct answers. All right. And I really screwed this up first hour. And you know what? I've told you this. I have a really tough time factoring when the leading coefficient's negative. It just blows my brain. It's one of my weaknesses. So is there something I could do about that on this question? Yes. What could I divide both sides by? 3, 2, 1, go. Say it. A -1. All right. I guess no one's talking third hour. They're all stunned by the quadratic formula song. Okay. So I'm going to show you that this is factorable, and I will factor it at the end after I do the quadratic formula. And then this is a helpful thing. Doing MA, I know I'm anti doing the 4-step factoring method, but you can check MA to see if it is factorable. So M is negative 9 times 2, which is -18. And A is 3 now because I multiply both sides by a negative. Does anything multiply to -18 and add to 3? 3, 2, 1, go. 6 and -3 because I decided to multiply. So that means since the numbers exist, this is factorable, and you will get answers that are nice little fractions or an integer. I was trying to think of the right word here, but I'm going to ignore that for a second. And I'm going to prove that the quadratic formula, or I'll show you what kind of answer you get for the quadratic formula that this happens. Now that I divided by a negative, okay, I'll write it one more time. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2ac. It helps me. My pen's being a jerk. It's not writing very well. Hey, I guess that slows me down, though. Then we got to understand that this is A, this is B, and this is C. After I multiply both sides by a negative, B is -3 then, the opposite of 3, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 3 squared, minus 4a, which is 2, c, which is -9, all over 2a. A is 2. Okay, so the fact that I decided to multiply both sides by a negative, this is what I have. If I did not multiply both sides by a negative, then this would be positive and this would be negative down here. And that still doesn't change what's going on. Okay, so I do want to be aware of that because someone asked me a really good question first hour. I didn't divide both sides by a negative and I got a different answer. No, you didn't. Mathematically, it would be the same. Okay, then one thing I need you to really focus on, you're going to have a negative times a positive times a negative. What is that going to be, a positive or a negative? 3, 2, 1, go. Positive. So I get rid of them now. I know I'm going to have a negative times a negative here. And then order of operations. This is a PEMDAS. This is those that mess up. You don't mess up because of what we're doing. Boy, this class is so difficult. No, you are making mistakes that are grade school in nature. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 9 is 72. You are doing PEMDAS errors. That's what I see most of the time, especially in CAT. My CAT students, more so in the past, their problems are grade school problems. We do a lot of fractions and stuff in there, or at least fraction ideas keep coming up often. Hey, everyone, what's the square root of 81? 3, 2, 1, go. 9. You are not allowed to write this as a final answer. Absolutely not. No way. What's -3 plus 9? 3, 2, 1, go. 6 over 4. Or what's -3 minus 9? 3, 2, 1, go. What's -3 minus 9? 3, 2, 1, go. -12. My third hour, man. You guys are, all right. Not talking. X equals 3 halves. I think I know what I did. I think I made a mistake first hour. I think I had these switched. And then -4. I think I made a mistake somewhere. in my adding. So negative 3 halves, or 3 halves and negative 4. Now, what's that now? Oh, negative 3, you're right. Whoopsie daisy. Whoopsie daisy. Never was good at math. Negative 3. Okay, now I'm going to go back up to this and prove that this is factorable. And actually, I can look at those factors. And that's what messed me up. It really did. 3 halves. So I bet you one of these factors is 2x minus 3. And the other factor is x plus 3. Good foilers, say it. Good factors. 2x times x is positive 2x squared. Remember, I multiply by a negative to get that. 6x and negative 3x is 3x. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. So I wanted to prove that the quadratic formula still gives you the answers. We could have done this by factoring, though. Now, on a test, when it comes to the section of solving, you got to choose the best method. This takes a long time. And guess what? There's a lot of chances for errors. The students that, now that they've learned the quadratic formula, solve every quadratic with the quadratic formula. A, make a lot of mistakes. B, will run out of time on my test. That's it. So now you have another tool. Don't abuse it. Don't use it all the time. But I needed to make that connection, though, that the quadratic formula still works for something that is factorable. Someone coming in the door? Oh, yeah. Everyone was looking at the door. You freaked everyone out. All right. Haley. Okay, come on down. Or you got to... Hey, you made the video. Sorry. All right, next. What do I have to do in this next one here in order to use the quadratic formula? What do I have to do? What do I do to that 7? No one's talking in third hour. 3, 2, 1, go. Subtract. Do I like a negative leading coefficient? No, but I'm using the quadratic formula, so I'm going to leave it this time. I'll leave it. Okay, so you don't have to. But just to see, is this factorable? Negative 3 times negative 7 is your M, and your A is 18. Does anything multiply to 21? That's a big yawn back there. And add to 18. Ooh, I just got another mean look. No. What multiplies 18 or what multiplies to 21? 1 and 21, right? Or 3 and 7. 3 plus 7 is not 18. So this is completely not factorable. Now this is really the use for when you want the quadratic formula. You have no choice. All right? So here we go. The opposite. You know what? I really do want to multiply a negative but I'm not going to. I'm going to stick with it. Hopefully it comes up later. But I got calculator bums. If 18 was negative, this is what they do. And it's not. 18's not negative, believe me. But say it was, and then, okay, I'm going to type on my calculator, negative 18 squared, because I don't know what that is. Do you know what the calculator is going to spit out? What's the calculator going to spit out? What kind of number? Negative. I know it's not. That's why you got to listen to my class. I'm giving some things, some common errors that I see people do. All right, I'm going to show you. If I did multiply by a negative, then 18 would be negative. That means this to be positive, and then people would put negative 324 in here. What's a negative squared, everybody? What's a negative times a negative? Say it. 3, 2, 1, go. Anyone that does this, I'm marking you wrong big time. You are a calculator screen copier. You are not thinking at all. All right? And that is a major, major, major problem that should never happen to anybody, ever. Okay, so I got to get these back here because I want to come back to my original. But that's not what we had, so I'll go back and write this correctly. Okay, so the opposite of B. So that's back to negative 18. Fine. 18 squared, there's no way of making a mistake. I was just making a point of the things that I see people do. All right? Minus 4AC. And then people that lose negatives, that's a minus 7. So it's negative 7. These are all silly errors that I must be very, very crucial in marking you wrong, because it is wrong. You got to stop these little things that we keep doing. By the way, what's a negative times a negative times a negative? 3, 2, 1, go. Negative. So I cancel 2 of them. Oh, I got 1 left over. Okay. So now it's negative 18 plus or minus All right, and then I do have to go to my calculator. So 324, 437. 324, it is minus 4 times 3 times 7. I already have the negative involved. I have the minus. If it was just two negatives, then I put plus there. Enter 240. Okay. Square root of 240 is still in this, all over negative 6. Now, I know I have a negative over a negative. If I would have multiplied both sides by a negative, I would have a positive over a positive. What is a negative over a negative, by the way? 3, 2, 1, go. Positive. So that's why it doesn't matter if you leave the negatives in or don't multiply both sides by a negative. You'll still come up with the same answer. Then honestly, this is how I do this. I write 240 off to the side, and then 24 and 10. 24 is, wait a minute, I'm going to change what I'm doing here. Since 10 is 2 times 5, I'm going to make 24 8 times 3. Why? What's 8 and 2, everybody? 3, 2, 1, go. 16. So this is how I want you to approach these simplifying square roots. Try to manipulate the numbers so you can find the most direct, biggest, perfect square. I had to think about what I was saying there. So now I can write this as negative 18 plus or minus, and then double check. 2 times 8, 16. 3 times 5 is 15. Double check that 16 times 15 does equal 240. So again, this is an equivalent expression here. Equivalent numbers. And then I can simplify. Square root of 16 is 4. And then 4 root 15 is what we have here. And I told you I would just divide everything by what? What do they all have in common? 18, 4, and 6. 3, 2, 1, go. 2. You either do this, divide everything by 2. So that's negative 9 plus or minus 2 root 15 over negative 3. Or split this up into two separate fractions. And then maybe you don't like that negative over negative thing. Now you can take care of that. But then you have to reduce, and this root 15 is up in the top. So this becomes, okay. Well, now this becomes 6, 12, 18. Oh, this is a big fat 3 plus or minus. And then you know what? It's kind of weird to write this as a negative because the plus minus kind of takes care of that. It really flips this into a minus plus, which is no different. But I guess you'd leave that as a negative. That's kind of a little weird, though. So I'll say that one more time. Plus minus a negative fraction. That negative actually flips that plus minus to a minus plus, which is no change. So believe it or not, this is actually the same thing as if you wrote that. Isn't that wild? All right. So that's why writing as two fractions sometimes is a little weird and different. And that's why having a negative leading coefficient causes more problems. That's why all the time when I'm doing my work, I make the leading coefficient positive. It's actually a really smart thing to do. But anywho, you do what you want. You are your own person. Okay, that's good. Yeah, just put it on my desk. Okay, so use the quadratic formula to determine the roots. All right, blah, 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 blah. All right, and I guess I got to follow the directions here. Write all solutions in exact simplified form, then round the real solutions to the nearest hundredth if necessary. Okay, so write all solutions in exact simplified form, and then we're going to go to the calculator. Okay, so I'll show you this. All right, first of all, MA. Does anything multiply to 11 and at the same time add to be negative 7? 3, 2, 1, go. That should be fast because it's only 1 and 11. That multiplies to 11. Negative 1 and negative 11. So no way. So we're stuck with the quadratic formula. I've been singing this bad all day long. I should have paid attention. Okay, and I'm going to write this. The opposite of B. Last time I'm going to write it that way. What's a negative? Negative 7. 3, 2, 1, go. Positive. So you should write 7 there. The opposite of B plus or minus the square root of, here we go. Some people that are still unsure of what negative 7 squared is, you'll go to the calculator. And I'll tell you, I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to be a silly fool and write negative 7 squared and not use parentheses. Anybody that writes negative 49 here, you're gone. I am marking you majorly wrong there. This is a major mathematical naughty thing to do because you're not thinking -7 times -7 is positive 49. Why am I going over this over and over again? 10 to 20% of you will still do it. It happens every year. Every year. And it drives me nuts that this is still occurring for some of you. Hopefully you prove me wrong. I truly, truly hope you do. Okay, opposite of b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Sorry, I always love that end. All right, still making people mad by singing. You can see your mean faces. All right, x equals 7 plus or minus, oh no. Oh, okay, no, this is good. 7 plus or minus 49 minus 44 is 5, and it's square root of 5. Hey, you know what's great about this? Nothing can cancel. Square root of 5 is not a perfect square. That is the simplified fractional form of that. But now, how do I get the decimal for this? Fumble. How do I get the decimal for this? Two ways. One, use the fraction button, and you're fine. Two, if you don't use the fraction button, then this is, let's do the not good thing. Oh, I got to get out of that, and then divided by, what was my denominator, 2? Okay, good. Divided by 2. Paying attention over here? Okay. Is this good or bad? 3, 2, 1, go. Bad. And I still have people do this. The only thing that got divided by 2 was the root 5. So I have people still do this. This is why I'm covering this. What you need to do is do 7 plus root 5 and put that all in parentheses as a together unit, close it, then divide by 2. Or I just do this all the time. 7 plus root 5. I press enter and get that decimal, then divide by 2. Notice the difference in answers. This way and this way are equal. This way is not, because that first way was wrong. All right. So 4.62. So approximately x equals 4.62. And then what I can do is go back and do my best way of writing this. So I'm going to go back up here. So hopefully you know that most of your calculators have this option, but then I can go and turn that into my hands in the way so I can't see. You can certainly type faster than I do. Change that to a minus and then press enter. 2.38. 2.38. So that's how you get the decimal approximations. No I number here. I know we didn't run into an I number yet, but we did in the bell work. All right, what do you got to do on this one? 3, 2, 1, go. Subtract. Subtract. I didn't hear it. Subtract 9x. Now, I will tell you this. Before I go to the quadrant, even if I was going to try to factor, what do those all have in common? 3, 2, 1, go. 3. I said that on purpose. You're going to want to do this because this makes your quadratic formula then smaller, like your numbers are smaller. And by the way, when you take out a common factor of a number, you can go ahead and divide that number. 0 divided by 3 is still 0. Now I can deal with x squared minus 3x plus 4. By the way, does be lazy here and just write that as 0, because 0 over 3 is 0. Does anything multiply to 4 and at the same time add to -3? It's so close, but is it? Yes or no? 3, 2, 1, go. No, I see someone do this. The only possibilities for 4 is -1 and -4. What's -1 plus -4? -5. And then -2 times -2, which adds up to what? -4. Are you guys okay, third hour? No one's answering any questions. Is everyone all right? Did you guys miss me yesterday and you're mad that I missed? Anyhow, I'm going to continue. It doesn't factor. Oh, rough crowd. Opposite of -3 is 3. Plus or minus. -3 squared is not -9. It's 9. Minus 4ac. I won't sing, all over 2a. Okay, now, we got a problem. 4 times 4 is 16. 9 minus 16 is -7. So you got the square root of -7. What's the square root of a negative? 3, 2, 1, go. I. You got to write this as an I number. So x equals, and then you got lucky again that root 7 does not simplify. So this is done in simplified fraction form. But now we got a problem when we write this as a decimal. What you have to do in writing this as a decimal is split this up into two fractions. So what does it equal as a decimal? Well, 3 over 2 is 1.5. Then I have to do plus or minus, and now I got to do what is root 7 over 2 as a decimal. So 3 over 2 is 1.5. That is to the nearest hundredth. If you had to put a 0 there, fine. Now going into my calculator, the only way you could screw this up is if you don't close that radical. So, or get out of that radical. That's root 7 divided by 2. The 2 divided by 2 should not be underneath that radical still. So get out of that radical and then do that. 1.32. 1.32i. And I is not a variable, but it is like a variable. So these two cannot be added together. Just like when I have an expression 1.5 plus 1.32x. These two cannot be added together. And some of you did that on your test when we were solving some of our, when we were finding equations of parabolas. So these can't be added, so those can't be added. So when I have an I number, I got to write it still as an I number, separated the real part and the imaginary part. So that's different than this last one because I can calculate 7 plus root 5. These are both real. So I can add those and then divide by 2 and get a specific decimal. So know the difference between those two. That is a little different. Okay, so hopefully that video worked.